vibrant in every atom.
O hidden light, shining in every creature.
O hidden light, shiny in every creature.
O hidden love, embracing all in oneness.
O hidden love, embracing all in oneness.
May each who feels himself as one with thee
May each who feels himself as one with thee
know he is also one with every other.
know he is also one with every other.
Om Shanti.
Shanti, Shanti.
Brothers and sisters, we heartily welcome you all in the Indian section Saturday evening meeting. I'm grateful to Indian section for giving me opportunity to be a part of this meeting. We are truly privileged today that Brother G. Dakshina Moorthy is delivering a talk on the topic Glimpses of Nirvana. Brother G. Dakshina Moorthy has completed his academic education in the field of law, as he did LLM, thereafter PhD. Brother Dakshina Moorthy is the member of the Indian Section Theosophical Society since 1980. He is National Lecturer appointed by Indian Section Varanasi. He is Vice President, Karnataka Theosophical Federation, Bangalore, and also Vice President of Bangalore City Lodge. Director of his studies, School of Theosophy and Meditation, which also is in the Bangalore City Lodge. It's another dimension of the City Lodge, Bangalore. He was District Judge, Karnataka Judicial Services, and he has been Secretary to the Government Department of Parliamentary Affairs and Legislation, retired from government in year 2013. Later, he worked as first director, Karnataka Institute for Law and Parliamentary Reform, Bangalore. He was ex officio member of the Karnataka State Law Commission also. He was also a guest professor with KLE Law College, Bangalore. Now I request Brother Dakshina Moorthy to please share his thoughts on the topic Glimpses of Nirvana with us. Brother Dakshina Moorthy.
Thank you, Mr. Mathur, for the introduction that you have given. And let me now begin the talk. Dear brethren, greetings of the day. And I am indeed happy to be sharing this platform with you all. And I intended to share with you my thoughts about the mystifying moments of nirvana that Brother G.S. Arundel is said to have personally experienced. So let me make two things clear at the outset. One, the theme of my talk is not about the Buddhist concept of nirvana, although between that and our current topic, there is a pretense of identity. And number two, I don't claim originality to my oration, for the glimpses of nirvana are original to Brother Arundel. Brother Arundel, he is discernible for his extraordinary visionary power of receiving these glimpses, and as such, I dare not present them as if it were my own. Our brother has preempted this difficulty of anyone for that sake that may attempt to explain them and set it out in his note to the second edition. Thus, he says, frankly, the reader will find little description, for description is impossible. Atmosphere of which there are particular expressions as the result of the medium, that is George Arundel, through which the atmosphere must needs to filter. So It is that these experiences of Brother Arundel are filtered by the atmosphere, and they are reflections of the moments which cannot probably be reached, probably relate the very next moment. That is the situation, and that what makes us difficult to understand Mr. Arundel. Now, Brother Arundel's depiction of his moments of these experiences has made him a celebrity among us, that is, the members of the Theosophical Society. Hope you will agree. The Theosophical Society world over, and especially the brethren of the Australian Theosophical Society. Brother Arute is endeared to Dr. Annie Besant, who affectionately calls him my son, while Brother C.W. Ledbetter has identified Arundel as his lifelong friend. What I am humbly attempting here is to draw your inquisitive minds to the ecstatic moments the author has portrayed from the recollections while in the states of nirvana. Particularly, this is to be understood. What he has said is are the reflections when he was in the states of nirvana. Buddhist nirvana, on the other hand, it refers to the state of consciousness of a disciple who has attained to an arhat stage, that is, the fourth stage of consciousness. We are occupied with Brother Arundel's visions within the universal phenomena of human consciousness flashing over phases of expansion of life. It may happen to you, to me, or to anyone for that sake, who is constantly aware of things happening, with constantly aware of things happening to explain posing unto himself this question. That is the question that Brother Arundel puts to anybody who is trying to understand his experiences. He questions, am I getting nearer to the truth? Am I getting nearer to the truth when I suggest that the unity of Buddhi is more an outward forthgoing process, while the unity of Nirvana is more an inward indrawing process. So here he makes it clear that the Buddhist concept of Nirvana is the unity of Buddhi, whereas here it is the unity of Nirvana is that it is both inward and outward without reference to the specific in drawings, nothing. So, and that leaves a clue. I think there is something of this kind for our Lord the Son seems at the nirvanic stage to become the center of my being. So he says, I think there is something of this kind for our Lord, the Son, seems at the nirvanic stage to become the center of my being, and goes on to deduce, mark this point, on further contemplation, it seems to me as if at the Buddhic stage, one goes to find the unity, while at the Nirvanic stage, one begins to realize it everywhere. This is again the difference that he makes between the Buddhist concept and his own experiences of Nirvana. And this is made figuratively clearer in the author's this explanation. I will just give you this explanation. At the Buddhic stage, one travels from the center to the circumference, finding the center as much as at the circumference as at the center. We must make these probably, we have to press these impressions into our mind. He says, at the Buddhic stage, one travels from the center to the circumference, finding the center as much at the circumference as at the center. So there is a confluence of the center and the circumferential motions, and the nirvanic stage is appears to be, although it appears to be at the center, it is all the more, it encompasses the whole circumference, it encloses at the nirvanic stage. So all is center, and one is on the verge of the conception that under a certain mode of consciousness, a center need have to no circumference, need to have no circumference for all is within the center. That's how he again explained the consciousness, a certain mode of consciousness, a center need have no circumstance at all, for all is within the center. And after the preface to the second edition of the book, the author has fashioned a graphic representation of his detection, plotting the state of matter along the x-axis and the plane of light along the y-axis. A footnote is enjoined, indicating that the institutional plane referred to throughout the text. He says that throughout the text of Nirvana, he has added a footnote which says that institutional plane referred to throughout the text corresponds to the Buddhic plane, while Arundel's conception corresponds to the spiritual plane, marked as corresponding to the nirvanic state. So this is also clear from his statement that while the Buddhist concept of nirvana is at the stage of evolution, when a disciple blows himself out of earthly existence and stands beyond all pains and miseries of physical life, Arundel's experiences are moments of nirvanic consciousness, each with tremendous altitude. So, Dr. Besant too paints that trying to describe nirvana is as hopeless a task as trying to empty the cream of a thimble, empty the ocean of a thimble. Bishop Leadbeater, he characterizes the visions like all earthly colors were hopelessly inadequate. All earthly colors were hopelessly inadequate to depict the supernal glories of nirvana, and compares them to things of the super celestial atmosphere, finding new descriptions in the pages of the Masters and the Path. So, Brother Arundel narrates a veneer of the processes. He presents a veneer of the processes that are generally witnessed during the nirvanic moments, like as the glow comes before the fire, as the glow comes before the fire, the dawn before the sunrise, so must the glow of dawning perfection, so must the glow of dawning perfection. He refers to that moments as a dawning perfection, slowly and surely steal over us. So, body after body, the perfection slowly and surely stealing over us, body after body, as a sign of that sun within is learning to shine. The sign that the sun within is learning to shine, as shines so gloriously the sun without. So this is the sun shining within, and the moments of nirvana are those shines that gloriously throw the sun without. So perplexed with these, so we are rather perplexed with these descriptions, but Bishop Leadbeater accounts for the fact that in each one of us, the spark, that is, the spark of divinity is ready, waiting to become a fire. So the spark of divinity, Brother Bishop Leadbeater says, is readily within us, waiting to come out as a fire, possibly to enkindle our hopes. In the combined work of Dr. Annie Besant and C.W. Leadbeater, that is the man, whence, how, and whither, there is envisioned the picture of the life of the colony. You may be remembering when we read the the book, Man Whence, How and Whither. It pictures the lifestyle of a colony, that is a portrayal of the living atmosphere of the people of the sixth great human race. So that is representing the life of the people of the sixth great human race. Alluding to that, Brother Arundale tries to lift up our spirits by prophesying that the science of light will on some day be recognized within man as the sciences of the science of the sciences. So the science of the sciences goes with its laws, its ritual, its worship, its philosophy, its ethic and aesthetic, and was sure to flash into the minds of the people of the forthcoming sixth great race. If any of you have had a taste of such glimpses, my salutations to you, brethren, the revered ones. The author explicates the moments of each nirvanic flash as accompanying immanent light. That is how he describes. They accompany immanent light and enjoins the glimpse I am touching only for a moment. They are momentary. This is another characteristic of distinction between the Buddhist consciousness and the Nirvanic consciousness. He says, the glimpse I am touching only for a moment. The lowest reaches its denser layers, and this glory I cannot conceive down here, but as I return to earth, it leaves upon me a new perception of reality. That is how Brother Arundale explained to us what after his experience, the feeling, how he feels about this earth after these glimpses. He says, I cannot conceive down here those reaches in its denser layers, but as I return to earth, it leaves upon me a new perception of reality. What is expressed in the moment of nirvana, when we return back to the earth, that is the phenomenal world, they look upon they seem to him like a new perception of reality, whatever was not there so far. So, my friends, the immanent light Brother Arundale affirms, is the will of the sun, the wisdom of the sun, and love of the sun, the language, thought, vesture, and vehicle. And in order to bring to the mind of his readers, declares that all he has written in his book is but the light divine in its lowest nirvanic aspect. So he has explained before that what he feels about the new experiences he gains during the moments, they are the lowest nirvanic aspect compared with the nirvanic world, and all other worlds are, he feels, they are just shadow worlds. There is nothing, no speciality about them. That's how he feels. Now, his account of one such experience I narrate to you here. It goes like this. One night I suddenly awoke. With a most vivid remembrance of a supreme exaltation. With a most vivid remembrance of a supreme exaltation, of a marvelous expansion of consciousness, absolutely indescribable, though then and there I felt I must somehow or other record it on paper. He wanted to record it on paper, what he had experienced during those momentous moments of reflection of the nirvana. So he records, even as I was, that was about 1 a.m. on the clock. So he says, even as I was inclined to postpone it to a later time, when sleep is minimized for physical interference, So the sleep almost takes in the physical interference, and therefore it was another part of mind instead. That means to say, when sleep is minimized for physical circumstance, another part of mind insisted that I do it at once. He did not want to, so he rather found it difficult to forego sleep, but the other part of his insisted that I do it at once. So you record it, it was insisting. And he continued, even as I sat up, this is really mysterious, I tell you. He says, he records, even as I sat up, I wrote by an impulse the words. He was writing the words by impulse. The what words? This is nirvana. That is what he hears. And he gets the urge to write down, put it on paper. And he says, and at that very moment, I did not know it was nirvana, and the glimpse was totally strange and astonishing. This is one experience of brother, what we say, um, the author of the book. I will tell you, Arundel, Mr. Arundel. So the sentence, "This is nirvana," with which words Arundel has opened the work. About it, he says, what I wrote was very strange to me at first. This in the narration, he is so clearly bringing out to us that what I wrote was very strange to me at first, and adds, my waking consciousness was not accustomed to reflect the nirvanic consciousness. There he points to the rather the demerits of accustomed usages. He says, my waking consciousness was not accustomed to reflect the nirvanic consciousness. So, in order to witness nirvanic consciousness, one must have a waking consciousness that is accustomed to such nuances. And for this reason, Arundel says, I felt the process of remembrance physically painful, since I had never before given a thought to nirvana in any event on the physical plane. So this experience he tries to record on the physical plane, and he has to say that the difficulty of encrypting these experience into the on the physical plane was so difficult and so physically painful, he says. He goes on to explain that that state of mind, that is the moment of the glimpses he attains. So that state of mind, he says, I could hardly read my own handwriting. I could hardly read my own handwriting. These experience or a narration of these things, no one of us will find anywhere else than this account of Brother Arundel. So he says, I could hardly read my own handwriting, so fast I wrote, and certainly I hardly knew what I was writing. I wrote for hours and was all aglow with exaltation. We have to, in order to have in order to be nearer to this process, I think it is right for us to go through the work of nirvana by page in our leisure. At our leisure, we have to read that and assimilate it. So he says, I wrote for hours and was still aglow with exaltation. The whole of my being seemed reoriented. This is the effect of those moments of nirvana. He says, my being seemed reoriented. I was born again, and when the day came, that is, when it was in the morning, when he was writing out, recording his experiences, he says, when it was morning, I found all changed. So when he woke up after writing, he says, it was all changed. How was it? They were the influence, or they were the effect of what he tried to record of his experience actually during the moments of in to say these pieces, that is the glimpses he was receiving. So a new note had been sounded in my being, he goes on to explain. A new note had been sounded in my being, new values had come to everything, and since then I have been occupied with readjustment. So he calls the difference a readjustment because he has experienced something that was peculiar to, or that was special to the nirvanic world. And when he came back to the physical plane, he thought he had to interpret it, he had to decipher it as a readjustment on the physical plane. That was, he was seeing strange things physically, what he was seeing in the nirvanic stage were actually real. So, what immediately comes to our mind is the ways of the divine plan that shines on the ignorant to reveal the occult side of the world. We have at least two examples. It is fresh in our memory. That is, instances of young J. Krishnamurti authoring at the feet of the master to the dictation of his master during trance. And earlier still, Madame Blavatsky, how she was able to bring out the secret doctrine even as she was never acquainted to Sanskrit, the lingua of the Tibetan plains. So, can we mark them in Arundel's terms as readjustments happening in lesser degrees in case of lower stages involving consciousness that mark the dividing lines between the kingdoms of nature to be readjustments to reality. So the instances or the moments, the developments in the nirvanic stage were in fact reality. And when he came down to the physical world, they seemed to be far from reality, which generally, or which is, I can say, is a common experience for us. If we are exalted to a moment of ecstasy, and when we come back, it is natural we see that what we are factually in is nothing before what we saw, be it in our dreams or in our imaginations. That is how it says. And at page 63 of the second edition, probably would have gone through this text, at least for its inquisitiveness. It is really a very mystic rendering of theosophy, I can tell. And he says, we find this declaration of Brother Arundale. I will read out the explanation or the declaration. He says, I observe that nirvanic consciousness is not a consciousness apart. So this is how we have to understand. This is where we have to take the clue to understand what it means nirvana in the language, in the experience, and in the occupation with the depiction of Brother Arundale. So he says, I observe that nirvanic consciousness is not a consciousness apart. On the other hand, it is in a supreme degree one with the world in which we live. It is one with the world we live in, but that we can see only in the future when we ourselves get to that state of nirvanic consciousness. So it is, he says again, it is all penetrating, the state of nirvana, it is all penetrating, and in its light, there is a marvelous readjustment to the reality of everything and of the quality of light that is witnessed in its moment. Here is a description. He says, God is light. Light is God. God is light. light is God, man is light, all is light, a new meaning to the ancient Egyptian assertions. That is what we get reflected even in in other books of theosophy. He says that as an Egyptian assertion is look for the light, follow the light, perceive and learn to be at one with the light of God in all things. That is all he says. Here is yet another relay. Here is yet another relay of the description of the immanence of light. He says, I look upon the world. I see the world in terms of light. God, the light is man in manifestation is man light. God in the light in manifestation is man light, in rock light, in tree light, all is light, a blinding glory at the center, translated into color light, into sound light, into form light, into substance light, as it descends into ever increasing manifestation in the manifested universe, that is light expressed in innumerable ways. But again, I quote another instance of it. At the center of that glory, at the center of that glory, which is all form, all color, all substance, yet the circle is but the center externalized. This is how the interpretation goes. The circle is but the center externalized. So there is the blinding glory everywhere. And the God light is blazing seed of infinity in each individual thing, in every kingdom. The light seed unfolds itself, unfolds its essence in every being. Brother, once again, ardent, it is my ardent request that in order to experience these mysterious moments of consciousness again, not as one consciousness that is occurs at one particular stage of consciousness as in the Buddhic stage. So we ought to read this book again and again, till we can gain the benefits of that experience that brother Arundel has, and he has tried to explain them in these words. So my brethren, even as I relate relay this to you, I am really feeling rapturous. Let me say, I am really feeling rapturous. It could possibly be the same with you, and if it is, God be with us all. So thank you, friends, for giving me this opportunity to bring out something of Nirvana's inquisitive experiences, which is new to our common life today, life in the common land. Thank you all very much again.
Thank you, brother Dakshina Moorthy ji, for a very absorbing, lucid, and inspiring talk in respect of occult experiences of Nirvana made by Brother George Arundel. Now, please unmute. If anybody has any question or want to add something, please.
That could be indications. If there is any question, that could be indication of how badly I have failed to explain the concept. Anyway, please go on, friends. Let me also.
No, brother, it is not like that.
Hmm.
In fact, the topic is such, it's going beyond our reach.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
And the experience ruptures, as you are saying.
Really, sir.
Broken things, somehow, somewhere, we may experience, but it's a very distant for the time being. At least I have not read this book, though I have kept this book on my desk, but never tried to go through. I'm telling you about myself. Anyway, It's a very nice, you had given us at
Mhm.
least an experience. You
I
had
think
given.
I thought the same way when I delivered lecture on Krishnamurti's fates, but there was less moment. I mean to say they were less interested. But this the experience of Brother Rundale really take us to a degree more than any of our experiences. That is how I feel. So if I have conveyed this to you, I will be really happy about it. Tell me, sir.
Thank you.
Sir
Anybody?
Sindhe.
Sir.
Professor Sindhe.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brother Dakshina Moorthy ji. Very
Thanks.
nice to listen you. Very inspiring experience of Arundel.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful experience. Actually, as you said, center of consciousness
Yeah,
in the stream of consciousness.
in this, yes.
It is in the stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
And it rises from body to animal ego, personal ego, to higher human ego, to spiritual ego, to the divine ego.
That's
So
it.
when
That's
this
it.
center is in the stream of this consciousness,
Yeah.
it gives a really a different kind of experience,
Yes.
and one cannot communicate to the other.
That's it.
He can enjoy it
Yeah.
joyfully. That is what we were listening to you very
Yes, sir.
carefully
Yes.
about the experience of Arundel. Thank you very
That's
much
it, sir.
for this. Thank
That's it, sir. That is the reason why it is why it may be termed as momentous experience.
Yeah.
It never lives for the next moment. That's how it is. So thank you, dear. Thank you for your nice talk, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shinde ji. Thank you. Can you tell us something more about this experience as you have understood from the
Yes, sir.
book? Because it's a very, I mean, experience in itself is very, very difficult.
Really?
So far,
Yes.
we think. But
Mhm.
this is also correct that the another moment we are on other side.
Yes.
So can you tell us something more
About
this? I mean, as any patient and C.W. Ledbetter has also said
yes, yes, yeah.
about those things,
Right, sir.
about those experience, about
Mhm.
those raptures.
Yes, sir. And I think these are rather extremely strange experience that anyone will find it difficult to relay or explain them. What I tried, what I have understood is that life is a rolling process. It is continuous, not restricted to one life, but it is possible for clairvoyants like George Arundel that he could see the prior and forward of the light within himself, and that accounted for these messages. And at the same time, we need to appreciate that this is a faculty that is peculiar to Brother Arundel. And so, even his expressions, oftentimes he has made it clear in his narrations that one would find them very strange. And how we can account for this is that the moments that brother Arundel had met was really uh, Rupa. Sometimes where he, at one point he explains, they took him to higher altitudes, he says. So what are those higher altitudes? Common people, I mean to say, those who are generally have these experiences, they may not even go to that heights. And that is only personal to the person, personal to one who experiences them. And I think these things are possible because slowly, in a small manner, in a small way or in a big way, we too find such moments of what can say astonishments we can find. Sometime it will be something will be in our mind which we will not be able to decide at that point of time. But when we meet the events or the circumstances or the sayings, or at least the sayings of somebody, we feel that as though this is what I felt the other day, what I met the other day, and I could not make an explanation to it. That is how I think this is part of life, as George Arundel says. This is part of life, but when we make the when we rather when we make life, when we can make life fast forward, these moments will become so near to us. But in the natural run of life, probably these are only accidental and again unimaginable.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome, sir.
Dakshina Moorthy ji.
Welcome,
In fact,
sir.
the last chapter of the men, wealth, how and whither, as you are quoting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So then about the sixth root race, the
Yes, sir.
starting of the sixth
New
root
man.
race.
Yes, sir.
So in that regard, there is lot has been written by C.W. Leadbeater in that book itself, how the things will take shape. But how, I mean, C.W. Leadbeater written about those things at
Yes,
what consciousness is related to that. I mean, it's a very high thing.
Yes, sir.
So even at that time, he has written. Sometimes he thinks that what is destined and what is,
Yes, sir.
I mean, good being done. I mean, there is destiny versus karma. Again, questions came to him. So, I mean, he has written so many things in that very last chapter of the thing, as you are referring. So, C.W. Leadbeater can also go to up to that very heights. So, what's his experience about this nirvana?
When he reflects when he refers to those experiences of the lifestyle of the sixth root race man, there is total order, there is total sense of unity, there is total tradition, there is total devotion, everything is there, and life is complacent, and also life is more pleasant, as if when a common man reaches to the height, that is, in a sense, the consciousness of man grows from life to life. That is how we can say. So when it grows from life to life, when it reaches the point of a life in the sixth root race, he could have attained to that state of consciousness, or he could have attained to that standard of life or the beauty of life. That is how I can understand from the reference.
Very nice. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Anybody want to add something? Please unmute, or any question. If there is no question, Pradeep ji,
yes, if there is no question, we can close with a closing prayer.
prayer. Mitalni ji will make prayer, please.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Namaste to all. Om Asato ma satkamaya tamasu ma jyotirkamaya mriturmang amrutangamaya sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramaya sarve bhadrani pasyantu na kasyit dukha bhag bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Dakshina Moorthy ji.
Thank
Thank you, every participant.
Thank you all, brother.
Thank you, Mathur ji.
Thank you. Thank you, each and everyone.
Welcome.
Nice presentation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.